Hello, welcome back everybody to How to RPG, the last live stream of the week for me, and we're going to finish it off with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to deal with a monster manual today. So if you were looking forward to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, it's going to happen. I'm going to put up a poll, so feel free to take part in that. On top of that, I have a special surprise. Another package arrived in the mail, and I'm going to reveal it and unpackage it today. And yes, we'll see how we go. I'm interested to see how the product managed to survive the shipping process, because the package did not look that great. But anyway, my suggestion is grab some food, some drink, get comfortable, because we're going to go into, I guess, I guess it is a review, but it's not necessarily reviewing it like I would normally review a book that's a brand new book. This is an old book, so it can't really be measured on the same scale that any other book can be measured on, because of the very nature of the fact that it's like over 40 years old. So yeah, we'll see how we go with this. It'll be an interesting task to try to present this the way it probably needs to be presented. In any case, I'm going to do my best to do that. So make sure you're comfortable. Hopefully my voice holds up. For whatever reason, it seems to be struggling yet again, and maybe even worse than before. But hey, you don't care about that. You're just here for the review. So hello, Fred Hubber, and hi, Dan. Hang around, Dan. Specifically, Dan, you need to hang around till after I do the flip through of this book, because I will open your package. Okay. Right, let's do this. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to do a review on a book. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the Monster Manual by Gary Gygax. That's right. We're going right back in time. This is a very old book, and this is actually Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Ed Edition. It's the first Ed Edition. It's not the second Ed Edition, it's the first Ed Edition. So a patron and subscriber, Nacho Man, was very kind and sent me this amazing piece of history. This is a review of the Monster Manual for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Ed Edition, with my honest opinion on the pros and cons of the book. Now, this is a thin book of original Dungeons and Dragons monsters, folklore, creatures, animals, and mythical beasts. And what I want to do is I want to actually flip through the book as I talk about this product that was made over 40 years ago. I'm going to probably wind up saying that quite a few times, but it's a very old book. It's been around a long time. I will apologize. It's going to be difficult for me to show you the pages without damaging the book. I can't put a lot of stress on this because I just don't think it will survive. So forgive me if I'm not able to show the pages clearly. I'll do my very, very best. In any case, let's see how we go with this, shall we? The Monster Manual is it was published by TSR and written by Gary Gygax. This is the first time a sort of like a tabletop role-playing game ever had a dedicated book. So it's kind of ridiculous to compare it to a publication that came later. So more modern Monster Manuals that have been released may look superior because they came after this. In fact, they would not exist and they would not be as good as they are without this book. And that's simply a fact. You'll find that it explains how to read the stat blocks for the monsters. It's not a lot of information, but it's enough to get the job done. There are 100 pages of monsters, with about 350 plus monsters and creatures that are compatible with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Ed Edition. This book has a glue binding, and after 40 years it's finally starting to show signs of fatigue, but none of the pages have come free. I thought it was stitch bound as well, but as far as I can tell, that may not necessarily be the case. It's very hard to tell from the binding. I couldn't tell exactly if that was the case. The pages are a matte white, made from what I would say real paper. I kind of feel like modern paper is not real paper nowadays. The colour cover artwork indicates that this is a monster manual, with it featuring a dragon breathing fire and a flock of Pegasus swarming around that dragon. So I kind of like the fact that they've done that. The interior artwork, as you can see, is small black and white drawings with clean lines but no colour. I imagine that back in the time, trying to do a colour book would have been pretty expensive, maybe impossible to do, given the fact that there was probably not going to be that many people buying the book. In many cases, this is the first time some of the monsters and creatures were ever depicted, or there were very few sources of illustrations to draw from. So a lot of the creatures and monsters you see here, you'll probably find that there weren't that many illustrations back then that people could actually sort of use as a guide as to what it might look like. There is a contents page. It's a pretty basic one, but it does what it's supposed to do. And it also, would you believe it, has an index because it's designed correctly. Like any reference book, Gary understood that you need to have an index, and there is an index, and it's done correctly. More than a few of the monsters or creatures are designed from weird imported Chinese Emporium plastic toys. You'll probably be familiar with some of these. There's a large number of fantastic monsters, great monsters, let's get real, silly monsters, ridiculous monsters, and obviously modified real-world beasts. But it's all done in sort of nutty fun, if you ask me. And yes, there is a lot of dinosaurs. Many of the monsters are combinations of real animals, which Advanced Dungeons & Dragons is. Are they famous for it? Is it notorious for the fact that they would create creatures and beasts like this? I feel like it's a time that we've kind of lost a little bit in some respects. Let's get real. Not all of the monsters created this way were delightful. I do remember the spider horse, and I think we can do without the spider horse. The spider horse was not a great monster. The monster lore is very limited in this book. I had to look through here, and there isn't a lot. For a monster manual, you would kind of expect more in a modern one. But this is sort of like the first time things were sort of being put out. I mean, obviously there was a book that had monster stat blocks for Dungeons and Dragons before Advanced Dungeons and Dragons in this monster manual, but it was literally like a pamphlet. So possibly I would say the reason why you see limited lore is maybe Gary is trying to squeeze as many monsters into this book as he possibly could. Okay, I've got to be really careful here. I could hear the stretching of the pages. The monster stat blocks are small and basic, so they're not like your modern stat block, which has got a lot of complexity in them. They're very, very simple. You'll even find a lot of the special abilities for these monsters and creatures are included in the lore text. So they're actually in text form rather than as part of the stat block. Is it going to balance that way? Okay. Multiple monsters are, obviously, as you can see, squeezed onto one page probably to reduce the pages required. I would imagine that printing a book beyond 110 pages was going to be quite expensive, and so space is a big issue. Space has been used. They have been quite careful about how they have laid things out. To a certain degree, there is something in this book that I find annoying, but I'll point that out very shortly. The text is very small, and which kind of makes it very hard to read. And I have old eyes, so if you've got young eyes, it won't be an issue. But the text is very small. One of the benefits of smaller text is you can fit more into the book. But it also makes it quite a lot harder to read. And, with the fact that so many people are wearing bifocals nowadays, it can be a little bit of a pain. So you really have to sort of study, and I have to make sure I look at this book when don't have tired eyes. It's not going to work. There's plenty of non-player characters in this book, which is really nice to see. I like the fact that they have included so many. There is a treasure by type table included in the appendix, which I'm sure... I'm not sure I fully understand that table. I was looking at it and it was confusing. I thought I could understand sections of it, but not all of it. So I guess the format and layout and conventions for that table that Gary was using, I don't fully see how I would use it in my game. But that's sort of beside the point. Now, this monster book reminds me of why I love advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And it's because of the ridiculous monster concepts in the spirit of strange but funny horror adventure. Like, when you think about advanced Dungeons and Dragons, some of it was just funny, some of it strange, but also there was a horror element to advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It kind of reminds me, it takes me back, and I think about the artwork that was depicted for heavy metal, music that was around heavy metal. And like heavy metal pulled from Dungeons and Dragons quite a lot. So it really takes me back to that. The outstanding monster ideas for me are obviously going to be the mythical beasts. I actually like the fact that there are so many dinosaurs. I know some people don't like the fact that there are so many dinosaurs in this book, or any monster book, frankly. And also the original monster creations, no matter how silly or ridiculous they might be, or strange, I really like the idea that they are there. One of my pet gripes, and maybe this is just a convention of books back then, but with the attempt to save on page count and squeeze as much as you possibly can in, there are far too many blank pages in the front and the back of this manual. I don't like it when they do that. Now, I know that the concept is it's a dust cover, Fred. It's a dust cover. I get that. But did we really need to have it? I didn't know that we needed to have it. And so, yeah, I was a little bit annoyed by the fact that I saw so many after the fact everything is squeezed in and the text is so small. It's a no-brainer that this book is very, very cool. I mean, this is literally, it's like looking at a Model T car that went into production, mass production, and imagine if you had that in your garage, a Model T, one of the very first Model T cars. Of course, if we compare it with a Ferrari, it's not the same thing. Okay, a modern Ferrari, not the same thing. But which one would you prefer to have? I'm kind of feeling like I like the idea of having the Model T, and so it's a very cool addition to the collection. And I have to say a huge thank you. Here we are. There's the index. A big thank you to Nacho Man, as I said, who is a subscriber and a patron. He sent this to me from his own collection and at his own expense. Okay, so a huge thank you to him. And that is the book. And I managed to get through there without taking out a page, which is like fortunate, I would have to say. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything other. I'm not going to say, you should get this book, or because you can't buy it. Like you could buy the PDF, but you can't just go out and just buy this book. It would be hugely expensive. It's very hard. It's rare to find. But I would definitely be using this book as a reference tool for the future on my channel. You'll see more of it. You'll definitely see a lot more advanced Dungeons and Dragons monsters showing up on the channel. But maybe not in the way that you expect, okay? Maybe not quite the way you expect. So I want to say a big thank you to Nacho Man and everybody who's been watching, and all of my patrons as well. I hope you enjoyed this, and hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, give me a second and I will transfer back. We'll go to chat, and then we're going to open the package. I'm going to open Dan's package. All right. Did I get that right? It's there and here. Hello, everybody. How are you? Let's go through the chat. I can see Wally already in here. Hello, Wally. Wally, I have used rot grubs. I've used the modern rot grub, and they suck. Modern rot grubs suck big time. Now, I want to say just really quickly before I open the package and I consult the chat, because I want to respond to everybody in the chat. Nacho Man also sent me the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master Guide for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Ed Edition. So that means we're going to be doing a page through and review of that book as well. So I will you'll get a chance to see what's in the book. You'll get a chance for me to give you some critique of the book. I hope that I don't feel like I've been unfair on this book, because let's get real, you can't compare it to any other book. Without this book, none of the other ones exist. So there's no point in comparing them. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. Okay, let's see. Now, Wally, if I knew you were going to jump in here, I would have grabbed your book as well. Let's have a look at the poll first. Do you want to see more Advanced Dungeons and Dragons? Yes, 83%. Out of how many votes? 12. Okay. No, 8%. Okay, that's fine. And just watching, 8%. All right, so interesting. So I can't see quite the top of the chat for whatever reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to skip past a few people. If I have skipped you, I do apologize. So Dan is a patron and also a moderator, and Dan is the one who sent me the package I'm going to open up in a second. It did not survive the postage very well. It really got mangled. So let's cross our fingers. I have not even had a look to see what the condition of the product is. He sent me some books, and I don't know how well they survive. So this is going to either be really good or heartbreaking. We've got Fred Hubber, who's here. Nacho Man. We all know who Nacho Man, because he is the one who's been responsible for making this possible. And thank you, Indo Structo Boy. Thank you, Taryn, for sending your viewers over. Hello, how are you? So we've just gone through the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual for First Ed Edition. I'm about to open up the package in a second, but let's get through here. AC in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is inverted. Yes. Offset versus 5e. Lower, even negative, is better than higher. Yes, I'm aware. It's not intuitive that armor would work this way. I think it was a good idea to have armor ascending rather than descending. It confuses people. What else? My body feels the same condition as that book. Look, I bet you. Really, I had to be very careful. If anybody is currently upset in the way that I turn the pages, come on, just there's bound to be somebody who will get upset because of the way I turn the pages. What else? Ranger. Hello, Ranger. How are you, Ranger? Welcome. Wally, so much nostalgia. Yeah, very nostalgic, I have to say. You love dinos and Dungeons and Dragons? Well, I think they belong there too. Robert Moore. How are you doing, Robert? How are you? Hello. All thumbs up, everyone. Remember to share and comment. Yes, that's always very helpful. I do appreciate that. You're probably wondering, will I release a edited version of the page turn and review, which was like less than 15 minutes? Yes, I will in the future. It will definitely be out. So Wally's here, and I'll be here back at, it'll be 2 p.m. New Zealand Daylight Time, which is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in Los Angeles, 6 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, I don't know where that is, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is like Chicago time, and then the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time, like Miami, Florida, at 8 p.m. we'll be doing a Game Master Roundtable with AJ Pickett, Wally DM, myself, Dungeon Class, who you haven't seen for a long time, and OKSDM, and we'll be talking about monsters and how you can use them in your game. And that will be on Wally DM's channel live in a few hours. Okay. So, yeah, I got old eyes for it. I see fine at a distance and in the dark, but I might walk right into a tree if it's too close. Yeah, look, my glasses work for me some days, and some days it doesn't matter whether I put the glasses on or not. You know, it's just how it is. Hope to see you then. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. Yo. Yeah, how's it going, Taryn? Um, the old treasure tables are pretty quickly. I'm assuming it'll just be understand the convention. I don't understand the convention. The note in the stat block for which table refers to tables in the DMG. Right, okay, and because I'm not referring to the DMG, I'm only got that book, it would make it more difficult. I get it. You've been running Wally's mosaic puzzle. Good one. Cool. Let's see. Okay, so I think we're just about ready to... I'm going to grab the package because we're going to go and open the package that it's really, really hard. I mean, I can't even believe that they can consider this postal package the way that the package has turned out. It's really horrible. It's not great. Yes, Dan, we're going to cross our fingers for sure. Okay, all right, let's do this. You've waited long enough. So, first off, but that's not the only corner. It really got a beating. I mean, look, it got wrapped. I mean, one side of the thing, it's pretty well wrapped. But look, don't worry. I'm going to shift to a different camera. You're going to get to see the full condition of this package. So this is how it was delivered to me. This is not the picture that Dan sent to me. I can assure you, Dan did not send me a picture that looked anything like this. This is pretty appalling. So you can see just how much. You can see the corner of the book. I don't know if that's because it was already like that or the damage when it was sent. I suspect the conditions of the book were actually pretty good. And so, yeah, don't know what's underneath there. So I'm going to very carefully cut away the packaging. And we'll see what's in the package. Dan has told me what it is. And I believe this is one of the first printings because it doesn't have the second cover. There's two different covers for this book. So okay, let's have a look in here. Right, let's turn them up the right way for you. So it looks like I'll be doing some more book reviews. So you're looking at this and you're probably wondering, what am I looking at here? Now this is a letter from Dan. I could read this out on live. I'm certainly not against doing that, but Dan, you will have to let me know. Is the letter really for me? I suspect the letter is really more for me than everybody else. Otherwise, I'll read it out live if you're all right with that. Okay. So what you see before you are Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the Player's Handbook, and the Dungeon Master Guide. I actually have the Monster Manual already. I believe it's the Monstrous Manual for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition. I think that's what it was actually called, rather than a Monster Manual. And the conditions of the book in the corners. I think that one corner. I don't know if that's from the post or not, or that's just normal wear and tear over time. It looks to me like the books are intact. Any pages coming out? No. Okay, that's good. So that survived the travel. There is some damage there. I don't know if that was already there, Dan. You'll have to let me know on the spine there. And yeah, okay. So this is one of the reasons why I don't like. I always get nervous when somebody sends things to me in New Zealand. New Zealand Post, and some of the things that people have sent to me over the years have just been absolutely pulverized. I remember somebody sent me a miniature that they had made, or two actually, and it was just confetti. It was just ridiculous. Okay, So they're all in good nick as far as I can tell. So that's good news. You're probably wondering, will I do a flip through and look at these books? I absolutely will. I have no problems. Now, where did I get to in the chat here? Shiner81, hello, how are you doing? Yeah, it's for you. No problem for you to read it live. I'd like that. You'd like me to read it live? Okay. All right. So let's read it live. I think that's a good idea. And I'll go back to my face because we can look at the books some other day. We can still look at them today if we really want to. I'm not even halfway through the live stream period. I'm going to have to take my glasses off because the distance from my eyes to this and the text isn't going to work. So I apologise for the fact that I'm going to have to do this without the glasses on. On and off. You're probably used to it by now. So I'm going to say right now, before I read it out, really quickly, I have a lot of subscribers and patrons sending me books. And which means you're going to see a lot of stuff. Now, the reason why that they're sending me these books is I made it clear that I can't just go out and buy new books, and I'm not really that interested in a lot of the older, the newer books that are coming out. It's just not really my thing, and even though I don't want to promote Wizards of the Coast current version of Dungeons and Dragons, frankly, I don't care what they're doing and how much they say sorry. I still like old Dungeons and Dragons content. I still like the old books and the monsters, or even the what do you call it? Some of the rules around older Dungeons and Dragons versions. So I've had Nacho Man send me books. Dan has sent me books. Agile Monk, if he was here, he's sending me Pathfinder Second Edition because I can't buy it in New Zealand. And they're doing this all out of their own pocket. So that gives me an indication of whatever I'm doing now on the channel, no matter how much somebody thinks it's a bad idea, I think it's created a much better, stronger community. So here is Dan's letter after he sent me the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master Guide. Hi, Frederick. Hope this parcel finds its way to you safe and sound. Well, it's made it here. It's made it here. I've got lots of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons books and boxes from years back. Duplicates are there, and if I find something useful that you might like, I'll put it aside for you for later. So maybe that'll be a possibility. Maybe it won't. But given that there's a lot of material in all this, it'll take me a long time to get through it. I know you have lots to go on. Lots going on. Yes, I do have lots going on. You're right. I know exactly how it is to give away things and regret later. So what Dan is referring to in this letter is I used to have Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Second Edition. And like an idiot, I gave them away. I did not sell them. I gave them away. And I've always regretted giving away the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master Guide for a Second Edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons because that's the game I started with, even though I didn't really fully understand how to play it at all. I've always regretted doing so. It was such a stupid thing to do. And so I went back and I decided, no, I don't need the other books, but I definitely want to get the Monster Manual. And I wound up having to pay the guy I'd given the books to free for to buy back my Monster Manual for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Second Edition for $20 after I'd given it to him for free. So he charged me. And he would have charged me for the other books. And I just looked at him and I didn't want to have anything to do with him. So I bought the Monster Manual and I walked out and I was thinking I'm never coming back here. So this is why kind of Dan is sending me these books. Books from back then are hard to come by. for a reasonable price. And look, if you are in New Zealand or other parts of the world outside of North America, they're almost impossible to get. Like you literally, it's just not feasible generally. I've looked at the Norwegian used market, and these books are advertised from 60 plus New Zealand in good condition. So first off, that would be if I had to get it sent from Norway to New Zealand. It would probably cost me $60 or more in shipping to get it to New Zealand, depending on who's shipping it. I've seen them down to 38 in New Zealand, but often torn pages and damaged. So I have looked online at Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books, but anything with D&D on it is usually priced 2 or 3 times higher than it should be, just because the New Zealand market is, because when you sell things online, there's a commission that that website takes off, and so people tack that on so that they get the money they want. My wife and me are really enjoying HeroQuest these days. So he's playing this because I played this. This is the first game I played. It was the board game, I would say. And then I transitioned many years later into role-playing games, but actually it was tabletop war games before role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons. Would you believe it? We've bought expansions also. Okay, cool. And I found the Mythic tier almost half price with one seller or grab. I grabbed it, buy it now. Okay, well, I'm glad you managed to get them. I actually got the text message that it had arrived the post office this morning. Okay, so I'm excited to open it up when home from work today. Well, I hope it arrived. Enjoy the books and keep them as they were your precious. And can I just remind people that you just never know what will happen? I never thought I would be running a YouTube channel and then I would need older books to refer to. And the number of times I've referred to older rules and older books and discovered that things that people are designing now have already been done. It's not even remotely funny. It's so true. I see people who are designing stuff and they think they're doing something new and fantastic and experimental and more modern, and it's been done 40 years ago. And I have nothing I can't say anything other than laugh at the very fact. So the reality is that everything has already been done. We just got to dig it back up. Looking forward to seeing them on YouTube in a couple of months. Yes, well, you didn't have to wait that long. I really hope it does not take 7 to 9 weeks for them to arrive. Well, it did not. Much to my surprise, it showed up very, very quickly. So yes, that's how my community rocks. I'm amazed, frankly, really, really amazed. So and I think before I disappear today, because I'm not going to go for more than about an hour today, I will flip very briefly through these books, but it won't be a review. So you get to at least look at the inside of these, okay? That would be sort of a fair deal, I think. So, yes, I'm going to go through the chat, respond to people, and then I will open up. You tell me, which book do you want me to open up first? Shall I give you a quick look at the Player's Handbook or the Dungeon Master Guide? Can I actually... I've squeezed myself in here so much because I didn't think I was going to be typing today. Hashtag. Can I even read I can't. Okay. Do you want to see the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Players Handbook or Dungeon Master Guide? Can I spell? Apparently not. Let's see if I can get this to go. Okay, do you want to see the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook or Dungeon Master Guide? I'll put that in there. Right, let's go back to chat and see what we've got here that I might have missed. Okay, hi Matt, hello, how are you? Now, if you're a patron in here and I haven't responded to you because I've forgotten that you are a patron, I do apologize right now. It's probably going to have happened. I feel like I feel like I have definitely missed somebody. I can't remember which one. So where are we? Down here. So Matt, I love checking out these old books for inspiration. Likely wouldn't purchase it, so it's cool you present it. So for years I've been presenting old Dungeons and Dragons ideas from the rules, from various books, and presenting them as fill-ins for 5e. I've been doing it on my channel. Some of you are probably very aware of this. So a lot of the solutions that you're looking for your current Pathfinder game or your Dungeons and Dragons game or whatever you're playing are often in the older books, particularly for advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but not always. But you'll find a lot of it is already there. It's already been done. You just need to be able to transfer it over. Hello, Jason. Jason Grundy, how are you? Excellent. Good for inspiration. But they are seriously outdated. Things have advanced, much better systems out there. 5e, not one of them, also outdated. So I would agree that 5e is outdated. I would say that, Jason, they're not outdated. Do you know why? If you're playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, they're not outdated. They're built for a particular play style and a particular rule set. So they're not outdated. They're only outdated in your mind because of their age. And if you're playing a different system, they wouldn't fit with a different system, the monsters, because they're not built for that. So yeah, again, yeah, that's what I would say. Is like they're not outdated. They are for a different system of play. Robert, I'm glad you got good support. Yeah, no, it's been really good. If only the New Zealand postage was reliable. Sounds like a union job. The problem with New Zealand Post is the postal service only operates 3 days a week. It's not 7 days a week anymore. They because of the development of electronic transactions, people don't send mail anymore. It's mostly email, right? Because it's just faster and quicker and more reliable. And so the only thing moving are packages, and so they don't make that much money off packages. They make a lot more money off sending letters, and they don't have that many letters going anymore. I've looked at the pre-sending. The two white bumps were there. I'll pack better next time. I think you did a pretty good job of packing. I mean, one side with the duct tape, like it was survived easy. I mean, it didn't look like it got hurt there at all. And Dan, when Nacho Man sent the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition books to me, he put them in a box. He had them in bubble wrap as well, and the box had looked like it had been crushed, like it looked like it was been smashed about. So the fact that it was in a box and it was in bubble wrap inside, all wrapped up, is probably the only reason they made it here intact. Otherwise, I can't imagine that they would have done very well at all. So, okay, well, it's good to know that the two white bumps were already there. There were two little tears on the spine, so hopefully that was already there as well. So now people want to know how much to send to New Zealand. Oh my. Okay, here we go. Yes, Dan is in Norway, for those of you who don't know. Yes, you'd be sure. Look, there are people sending things from all around the world to me. It's not just North America or New Zealand. Yes, that's right, Nacho, you're right. It almost took the same amount of time to send it from Norway to me in New Zealand and from New Zealand to New Zealand. Just a different place. I mean, it's nutty. Matt would like to see the Dungeon Master Guide. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yes, I've seen them too. February, so under 3 weeks. So under 3 weeks. Yeah, that's amazing. I would struggle to get something from the book depository from overseas or Amazon in that speed time frame. Would be amazing. How about a monster? So Archer's friend, how are you, Archer's friend? How about a monster comparison between Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and 5e? Undead, Basilisk, how magic resistance works. I don't think that's likely. In the past, I would have considered doing that. But so for those of you who remember when I was doing, I was remastering some of the 5e monsters, because 5e monsters in the monster manual, the mathematics or the stat blocks are pussies. They're quite poor. I was remastering them from the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books. So I was looking at what they had done in the past, what had been lost and taken out, to make it player friendly, so that players did not get upset when they lost their magic items or they get turned to stone or things like that. And so I was kind of sanitized. It had been sanitized. So 5e is sanitized quite heavily, and a lot of that has been lost. So monsters aren't scary now. They're just more cannon fodder, frankly. So monsters, monsters, you didn't really want to fight monsters. I mean, even back in 3.5, nobody wanted to fight a dragon or a beholder if they could help it. Usually we just ran away, and then we'd like, is it possible to make this work, or do we really need to consider coming back some other time? Spirit Wolf, hello, Fred. Yes, hello, Spirit Wolf. How are you? Hi, Michael. Michael is also a patron. Hopefully I'm getting everybody right today. There are places I prefer old Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, places where I prefer 5e. So, Fred, I agree. I think there are places where 5e has done a really good job. It's one of the reasons why I am cloning or, I guess, reverse engineering 5e right now, which I'll be doing next Friday, as it happens. Same as what, I wouldn't say same as, because really Taran Indostructo Boy is basing his game more off Morkborg. But yeah. Now I'm going to get this name messed up really badly, but I'll do my best. As Epiphanes Egrets. Epiphanes Egrets. The only thing I miss about first edition is the weirdness. It had really weird stuff, yeah, especially among the monsters. That's what I miss the most, is it was just so weird. I sent something to AJ a long time ago, and it took like 2 months or more. Pale Rider, I wouldn't be surprised. Dragons and Beholders are supposed to make intelligent PCs run away. That's exactly my point. They just don't do that now. What do you got here, Wally? Vampires and wraiths were always nasty monsters in 1E because of the level drain. Yes, level drain was always horrible. I remember it in 3.5, let alone Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Level drain sucked. Yeah, you had to strategize, you had to plan, and you then had to pray that your plan went off without a hitch. So, sorry guys, I'm going to switch over. I will keep an eye on the chat, and I will flip through the Dungeon Master Guide. How's that? How's that sound? We'll flip through this. I'm not going to stop at anything. I'm just going to flip the pages, because it's going to be like probably more fun. Maybe I'll spot something that I like that sort of stands out. So artwork was always a big factor. I think a lot of the heavy metal feel to Dungeons and Dragons was in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like that heavy metal vibe kind of got lost somewhere along the line, and we wound up going into a different world. Like, hi Rubik. Gosh, I think, Rubik, aren't you a patron? I think you are a patron. I can't remember. I'm sure there is somebody named Rubik. And for the life of me, I can't remember if this is the same Rubik. Some people don't have the same Patreon name as they do. Yes, Rubik is a patron. I remember now. There we go. I spotted your name. And it's mostly because it just sort of stood out to me. Rubik. I was like, okay, that's an easy name to remember. So one of the things I like about the older artwork and older Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is they really, because it was, nobody had really done it before, it was aware, I think really Gary and people who were putting the books together were aware they had to give you pretty much everything, because you didn't know what you were working from. So there was no leave it to you to figure it out. They gave you options, or they explained things so that you could do this and be successful. So I mean, that makes a huge difference when you actually give people what they need. And a lot of the artwork, compared to modern artwork, I'm going to talk about artwork a lot because this is what sold me on buying the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons second edition, is the artwork on the cover. That's what sold me. Would you believe it? I know, I bought the book based on the cover. Literally, that's what I did. They used, acrylic paint, they used oil paints, they used watercolor very rarely. Most of it was designed, from people who were artists who used standard methods of creating art. Nowadays, it's all computer generated. You're using computer tools. Now, there's an element to that, which is speed, and I mean, using oil paints and acrylic paints and canvas is expensive. It's not a cheap process. But what you lose by doing that is it's artwork that can be lost. Like all digital things can be lost. It's only a matter of time before they can be lost to time, which I think is a sad thing. We don't want to lose these things. We want them to stay. And that's just my general opinion. And I like this book here, and I don't remember if the one I had. This has got red boxes around things, so that sort of helps make things stand out. This actually is important. Oh gosh, there it is. It's Thaco. I remember Thaco. Okay, so hang on. Have I got technical issues with OBS? Reconnected. There was a slight glitch apparently at my end, so there's something going on. I have another cyclone heading my way, by the way, people. New Zealand is about to be hit by another cyclone. That one has come from the Philippines, I believe, or Malaysia or Asia, and it is going to be, it was a category 4. Hopefully it's kind of tamed things down a little bit then. By then, if it's not, it's going to be a rough deal. So yeah. For those of you who suddenly disconnected, it's because something at my end. It's got to be that. I think it'll be that cyclone striking, trying to mess with things. You love the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons DMG, Pale Rider? Yeah, there is a lot of great information. Okay, if this stream winds up falling apart, it's because of a storm, people. Reconnected successfully. This is not good. What are you doing, OBS? Stay with me. Stay with me, OBS. Okay. So until I started a YouTube channel, I did not understand the benefits of having an older book around. I just assumed that the best thing was to have the newest version, the one that I was playing. Why would I do anything else? So yes, I'm hopefully going to try to get some more stuff up onto Patreon that allow you to make your own stuff, because as I've been saying to people, I'm more about let's get you making your own stuff rather than using somebody else. Yes, the artwork went way up. The jump was huge, Nacho man. Big change. So Rubik, you're in Sweden and we are using heavy metal RPGs. Yes, so Europe are right into heavy metal. I have a question for you, Rubik, and for Dan or anybody else who might know. Do you know, is there a role-playing game called Heavy Metal? Like a tabletop role-playing game. I know there's a video game called Heavy Metal, but I'm kind of curious if there is a tabletop role-playing game that's called Heavy Metal. Because I would be curious to know if that's... I mean, it may be called... Maybe they're using slightly different terminology to say the same thing. I'm just curious, yeah. If anybody knows, let me know. Artwork looks great. Yes, it does. And I like the fact that the headers are in red, so they stand out really clear. You see, okay, that's the header. But then again, I like red, and I guess red might be just maybe it's a bit much for some people. So this is actually a color book, would you believe it? Compared to looking at first edition, which was black and white. But then again, there's a bit of time difference between the two. So Art and Arcana is my favourite D&D book I own, and was the main reason I felt okay to part with the old books. So Nacho Man, I have Art and Arcana, but I think I'll probably use this book here more than I will use Art and Arcana. That's not to say that I haven't used Art and Arcana. Surprisingly, I have. Hello, Sam Hill. How are you? First time caught you live. Well, I'm glad you were able to catch me live. I'm not going to say that, Dan, but I agree. Thaco was a big B. How am I? I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty good, actually, Sam. Not too bad at all. Dear. I should probably put some water in me. That would be, I've been talking for way too long, and I've got to save my voice as well, because I've got to talk for, at least I don't have to talk for the full 2 hours. And when I do the Dungeon Master, or sort of say Game Master Roundtable, I don't have to talk the whole time. There'll be other people there to talk, so that'll be very, very helpful. It is amazing how much stress it puts on my my voice nowadays. I didn't realize just how. I feel like there might actually be a day that comes where I can't do this anymore because I can't speak. I may wind up having to do what AJ Pickett's been doing, which is use artificial voice generation. That would be a big smack to the head, I have to say. Oh, so Fred, I was about to say I had no lags or skips and the video stopped. Yeah, it's something happened with OBS, and I suspect it's the storm. I don't think I'm going to get the full brunt of the storm here. Magic item tables. Okay, so we're into magic item tables now. Here's the appendix. There look like there's quite a few appendixes here, actually. Appendices. Yeah, so Fred, Thaco made sense for those of us who started playing in 1975. Yeah, because see, when I was playing tabletop role-playing games, war games like Warhammer 40k and Warhammer, like it was quite normal to have tables you had to remember. Like it was so obvious. You just memorized them, and you just learned them, and so you knew exactly what it was how it was supposed to work. So that was quite normal. Sam Hill, that was a bit before my time. I'm only been playing for 2 years. Well, that's fine, Sam. Don't worry about it. We'll bring in everything we can, so you've got a bit more. Almost top of the hour. Spirit Wolf, at the top of the hour, I will be going. Okay, I'm going to be going. You're going to see me again in a couple of hours anyway. Maybe with some people who are more eloquent than I am, or not. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, I really struggled with it, frankly. Wally, I played 1E Beckme for 20 years. Never used Thaco. So, Wally, do you know, I want you to teach me how to play Beckme, because I never played Beckme. I would really like to learn how to play Beckme Dungeons and Dragons. Do you know what I mean? I think there's value. And one of the reasons why, Wally, I need you to teach me how to play Beckme is because my group want to play Beckme but get rid of the aspects of the game that they don't like. So as part of the Make a Tabletop Role-Playing Game mission I'm currently on, like many others, I need you to help me understand how to play that game so I can figure out what I'm doing. Is it going to work? Yeah, Thaco is the old AC, exactly. You got it. And then, of course, we've got a whole lot of additional books that you can get over here. A lot of advertising. This is what I miss. You will do, Fred? Good. Okay, he's giving me the wink. But when Wally does the wink, I'm pretty sure that means that's the real deal. So I like the fact that they use the dust jackets for their advertising, and it's not just blank paper. I mean, I suppose this is to stop ink spreading onto here, but I don't think that's an issue. I don't know. Just fill up the blank pages, people. Just fill them up. Put something there. All right, let me move this book out of the way. I've got 5 minutes and then I'm going to go. So I'm going to flip through the player's handbook. So why did you ask us, Fred, do you want to see the Dungeon Master Guide or the player's handbook? If you were going to show us both of them anyway. Because I'm an ass. Let's get real. I just want to see what your response was going to be. That's really where it was. So this is the player's handbook. And the dust jacket has got advertising on it. Good for them. That's the way. This is the way. And it's not the way of the Mandalorian, if that's what you were thinking. Overboard is here. Hello, Overboard. Overboard is a patron and a moderator. Thank you for coming. He also has a YouTube channel. Wally has Wally DM has a YouTube channel. You should go and check out Wally's Traps and Puzzles, people. You should go and see him. I still have a folder with a massive dungeon I made in the 90s. I think it has over 300 rooms. So I'm doing Dungeon 23 right now, as it happens. You got to go back to work, Nacho. I'll see you later. I'll see you later. You go do your work. So yes, I've been doing Dungeon 23. It's been hard to keep up with it. I'm doing my best. Really, it's been a bit of a struggle at times, but I think I'm on track to stay with it. Fred, I sent you a link to some Dungeon magazine PDFs today on Discord. Yes, you did. I saw it. I've pinned that, and you can access it easily. Fred, I've never heard of any heavy metal tabletop RPG. Rubik, that is excellent news. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad nobody's ever done it. That's good news. Bargle, you mean Fred needs to have an opportunity to kill Bargle? Yeah, Elena, we can't have Elena going. I think it was very clever what they did with that introductory single player game. I think that adventure that they put together, brilliant for investing you in the whole process. Brilliant. I know Wally's talked about it quite a few times and a few others, but I think Wally's mentioned it more often than anybody else that I can think of. Yeah, your first experience? Yes, I bet. Yeah, nostalgia, a lot of it nostalgia. Absolutely. I have to go as well. No problems, Michael. Thank you for coming and thank you for being a patron. Yeah, you might be able to catch my next performance later tonight. I can assure you that although I'll present some monster ideas that are supposed to be useful, you know what I'm like, people. I'm going to take the piss. It's always the fact. I'll try to find the funny way somewhere along the line, and if I can't, you'll have to put up with dad jokes. I'm not even a dad. Just bad jokes. Bad jokes. You might even get quite a few bad jokes. We were punning to the ends of the earth. I remember the sock discussion. It was ridiculous. It wasn't even entertaining, but it just didn't seem to die. But yeah, we'll try to work better on that one. We have at least AJ Pickett, and AJ Pickett's usually pretty interesting to listen to, even if you don't want to listen to everybody else. Fred Hubber. Note, Esper the Bard has a Kickstarter worth looking at for monster races, where the race is the class. Well, actually, Esper the Bard has actually got a book that he's developing, a Kickstarter, and the monster playable classes, the races and classes together. So they're not separated; they are put together. Okay, you're going to be seeing me doing his ogre next week. I've already talked to Esper about this. One of the benefits of actually reaching out and finding really good people is you make really good contacts with some people. And so that means, hello, how's it going? Prepare, cook, and survive. How are you doing? So yeah, don't worry about Esper the Bard. Esper the Bard is sending me his current book. It's just got to get here. You'll be seeing a lot more of his book, as you will be seeing a lot more of Wally's book in my videos. So yes, don't worry about it. I will be building some of Esper's playable options in the future. You want to play a monster? You want to play a cyclops or a minotaur, or you want to go and play something like an arachnid creature or a vampire? Yep, we're going to be doing that. Don't you worry, we'll make those characters. Fred is going to be playing one of those monster races in a live stream on Esper's channel in a few weeks. Yes, that's true. Wally knows how difficult it is to convince me to come and play live. One, because I always feel, like honestly, I always feel that people will be disappointed when they see me playing a character, because I've toned things down over the years. I was actually a very disruptive player, I think, and when I look back at what I used to get up to, I was very naughty, and I still have that naughty streak in me, and so it's better that I be a game master or a dungeon master than a player, but I play characters more than I game master nowadays. Finally found a good mix. Yes, people, you are correct. As I turn these pages, you are recognizing stuff in here. I bet you are. Yes. So yes, the only way that Esper managed to convince me that not to say, nah, I'm not doing it, and he didn't even wait for me to say, yes, I would do it. He just assumed that I would, was the fact that I got to play a Cyclops or a Minotaur. I don't really care about playing a vampire or a spider, but the idea of playing a dumb as, yes, playing a dumb as fuck ogre, it really appeals to me. And a Minotaur, I don't know what it is. I always like playing Minotaurs. It's one of those things that sort of stands out for me. So it really did need mentioning. Well, it didn't really need to be mentioned, because I was going to be mentioning probably for the next 4 weeks, is you have to put up with me building characters from his preview for the next month or so. So, but you can say it, that's fine. Yes. Hi, Jack Penny, how are you? Take the P and dad jokes as a way we love you. Well, I'm glad you like. Look, toilet jokes are a thing in my family. We can't help ourselves. Not to mention, we used to wind up throwing the salt and the pepper and the butter at each other when people would ask for it. So some really bad habits, but very amusing. Can you imagine, like, there were so many kids growing up at my table. There was always a baby at the table, so food would fly. Like, potato and peas everywhere. Oh, my gosh. What do you got here, Dan? Jack, I agree. They're really beautiful. Yeah. I'm amazed that I did not understand the the benefits of hanging on to these things. There's a lot of spells in here that don't exist now in 5e. Oh, I almost did the page in then. Yeah. You don't get to play play a character often enough, Fred. I totally understand that. I run a YouTube channel, and so everybody assumes that I would just dungeon master, and I did for quite a few years. All I was doing was I was just running games. I really didn't get to play at all, and it was a disaster for me. It was actually causing huge problems. And finally, when I found enough people that were willing to all be dungeon masters or game masters, we just take turns now. It's such a nice environment where you can sort of sit back and, like, I don't have to do anything this time around. And when I really feel like doing it, I really feel like doing it because I've had a nice big break. Pale Rod, I think Fred would like the Orcs of Thar and the Bekmi, where you can play dumb orc characters. So there's another one of the things I used to play in 3.5 particularly, and even in 4e, is I loved playing a half orc. And then when I found that you could play an orc, like it was like catnip. Frankly, it's catnip. I couldn't help myself. Oh my gosh, what the hell is that? Okay, that's pretty awful. Is that insects? Change staff. The image doesn't reflect what's going on in the image, but I saw that and I was thinking, oh my god, is that rot grubs? It's got to be something. No, okay, all right. I lost perspective for a second there. Yes, I did. You fell out of your chair. I'm sorry about that, man. I'll keep my language down. Yeah, I'll try to control myself. Um, if Wally's still here and anybody's still here, I think a few people are going to be upset with me. I have already figured out the name of my ogre that I'm going to play in Esper's game. And it's either going to go down as a good... I don't know. Yeah, I think a lot of people may get upset. But I can't help myself. I've got to do it. What do you got here, Jack? Since we're going old school here, have you ever worked through the Fabled Lands books? No, I haven't. Great game books that have inspired my own storytelling. I haven't. The reality is that role-playing game books in New Zealand are actually pretty hard to get. It's even harder now. I didn't realise how much more difficult. With the success of 5e, I went into a game store and I've been looking online, and it's just there's nothing. The only thing you can buy is 5e, and maybe the occasional book, maybe Call of Cthulhu, if you're lucky, or maybe the new Aliens RPG. That's about it. There's nothing else. They just sit on the shelves, and so nobody stocks them. You can't buy them through the back store or anything like that. Yeah, all of the TSR books are now available as PDFs, and hopefully they stay that way. Hopefully they don't take them away. That would really suck. Okay, so I've flipped my way through this book. I have not talked about the book. I will do it another day. I should leave because I'm going to be back in about 3 hours anyway. What I will do before I run away is I will give you a link to the live stream that is going to be running today. With Wally DM and AJ Pickett, myself, Dungeon Class, and OKSDM. All of these people, I have to say, are top of the pops for me. They're going to be a really nice discussion. So let me just grab the link for this so you got it. And if I remember, I will put it into my community post as well. I'm not telling you my ogre name. You'll find out when I'm on Esper's channel. I'm holding on to that one. Norwegian bastard. Oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. I'm going to call you Norwegian because that's not going to work if I keep calling you the other name. Brings me back to the 87 when I played D&D for the first time. Well, that's good. I'm glad it did. I'm glad it brought you back. Your name is... Come on, really? Really? When you present yourself on social media, sometimes the name is not... I mean, I've seen some good names. I don't know about that one. Politician names. No, I'm not naming myself after politician. But I do have something in the works, don't you worry. The original Isle of Dread. But if you get a chance to play the original Isle of Dread, there's a great fan-made Gaz on the Sea of Dread in Pisa. So, look, when I was playtesting Dungeons & Dragons Next, which became Dungeons & Dragons 5e, so during the beta and also the alpha play test, which not everybody was invited to because you had to sort of be cozy with somebody. So I was part of the alpha play test for Dungeons & Dragons. We actually used the Isle of Dread to test 5e. So I have actually played through. I used their document they put together, which was pretty close depiction of the original adventure. And I also used the original adventure because I downloaded the PDF. And then anything that was missing, I ported over so I could use that and built out the things that I needed. So I've actually game mastered the Isle of Dread for players when I was playtesting 5e before it became 5e. So yeah, I have done that. Do I want to talk about the Isle of Dread? I keep talking about the fact that I've run it and I never actually go into it. And frankly, why? Because I think most people have done this to death. I don't know that I would be adding anything. Be lucky all. Thanks for it. No problems. You're welcome. See you in a few hours. Yes, see you, Wally. I better get going, people. I really should. So Otherwise, I'm going to be here too long, and I need to move, get some things done, and then come back and save the voice. So let's make this happen. I want to say a huge thank you to Dan, and I also want to thank all of my patrons. If it wasn't for Dan and for Nacho Man, you wouldn't see these Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books. The reality is, it's really, really important. Okay, I think it's more important now than ever that we look at what has been done in the past rather than continuing to chase the merry-go-round, which is Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, because I do feel like it is a merry-go-round right now. And hopefully it will give people solutions that they didn't have before. So thank you to Nacho Man. Thank you to Dan, both subscribers and patrons. Thank you to all of my subscribers and patrons, particularly my patrons. I want to thank everybody who took part in the poll today, everybody who's been using the chat and communicating with me. I appreciate it. It really does make a big difference. And everybody who's been watching the stream, and that's great. And if you're watching the replay, thank you very much. Edited videos, they will come, don't worry. I'm almost through my backlog of hidden stuff, and you're going to get some shorts, don't worry. These will be a few shorts that you'll have to contend with as well. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, the wee early morning, you know what I'm going to say. Please look after yourself, your family and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. Try something new maybe, or maybe try something old. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Oh, you're going to be getting first ed edition and second ed edition, people.